Hey everybody, it is Callus here of the Callus Narrates YouTube channel, link in the description, here to guest narrate for the Jimvitational tournament. We are getting pretty serious, getting pretty deep at this point. Round 6, we're not playing for guaranteed money quite yet, but we are damn close, just a round or two away from being where they want to be and getting a chunk of that sweet, sweet prize pool, which you can make bigger via donation, via PayPal donation link in the description. With all that advertising out of the way, let's talk about the players. This is actually, it's an interesting matchup because these are arguably, neither of these guys are ADV mains. Maybe Mana is these days, but these are two generalists, I would say, more than anything else. BIHI, if he mains anything, and it is BIHI, not BIHI, for those of you unfamiliar, but BIHI is probably a DPP main, if anything, and he's been one of the very best DPPers in SPL for half a decade at this point. But that being said, he's had success in far more modern formats, a little bit of Gen 8 I've seen him do well, he plays Gen 9, he plays GSC, does a little bit of everything, and ADV lately has been his interest, clearly quite competent. Mana, like I said, is a generalist as well. I don't know that he's necessarily an ADV main. Maybe in modern times he is. He's already a two-time money winner, and should he make money in this tournament, he would be a historic three-time money winner in Callus Invitational tournaments, or the successor in this case. I'm counting this for those purposes. That would be a hell of an accomplishment. Certainly one of the most consistent ADV players, and really just tournament players as a whole. And one thing that I think Mana does really well and gains an advantage over his competition, I think he's one of the best builders in the tier. I think he is not afraid to do weird things and do things his own way. I think he really, really understands the team building process, and certainly a good player, but I think the building and the creativity is a large part of his success. So, I mean, I could just sit here and drag out the intro another minute or two just to make you guys squirm in the comments who bitch about it. Give me a second here. Drink of water. Oh, yeah. Oh, you know what? I think I want another sip. Just a big, long sip. Oh, I'm still so thirsty. Let me just get one more. Oh, yeah. I guess we could start the games now. Alright, here we go. Game 1 in what is still a best of 3. We will get to best of 5 a little bit later in the tour, but we're at best of 3 for now. Let's go. BIHI as PIHI on the bottom, Ban Manaphy on the top. Skarm and Venusaur both are comfortable with it. Venusaur going to be faster and connect with immediate Sleep Powder. That has got to be a bad opening for BIHI. Nevertheless, he switches to Bliss. 0% surprised that he's got Skarm Bliss. That is very much his default when playing this format. And here comes a much less common Machamp getting its guts activated by the T-Wave, but it does full para. That being said, that Rock Slide, despite not being stab or super effective, is going to one-shot the Gengar with the Guts boost. But apparently, that's what BIHI wanted, because he took him down with him via the surprise Destiny Bond. So that being said, we've got a Leech Seed going wide and left, and yet another Mon is a victim of T-Wave. In this case, it is Suicune, and we have no clue whether or not it has rest. This team looks like it's leaning offensive for Mana, so I'm going to say no. And then that Hydro Pump is also going to suggest to me that it's offense-focused and probably doesn't have rest. But between the imperfect accuracy and the para, unfortunately, both of those first Hydro Pumps are going to fail to connect for Mana. More Combines coming down. Sandless game, so Suicune has a couple more opportunities than usual, and it actually does have rest, which, like I said, not what I was expecting. So BIHI's going to take the opportunity to burn Sleep Turns from his Skarm. He does kill one, but Suicune wakes up, and that's a hefty Hydro Pump, 46%. Combines up yet again, that is boost number 4, and of course, it's Insta-Parrot again. Hydro Pump PP, very much a consideration here. Blissey might be able to simply PP stall it out by soft boiling the damage away until he runs out. That is the final Combine boost, all 6 of them, and full power. But like I said, Sandless game, so the Coon is not in any danger here. Switches it up to Ice Beam, why not? That obviously has more PP than Hydro Pump, and it can freeze. Ice Beam again. I like it. Like I said, can randomly crit or freeze here, and that would be wonderful from Mana's perspective. And the fact that there's no sand is really, really mattering right now, because that means that the Suicune is leftying up the whole time and negating a ton of the damage that was done before. And this would be way more difficult to do if sand were present. But now BIHI's starting to be a little more aggressive with it, which I think is the right play. If you give Coon too many opportunities, it will eventually find something. So the offensive play does prompt a rest. It is max boosted here, but Skarmory wakes up finally when it needs to and roars that away. So Crisis temporarily averted as the Skarm is immediately put back to sleep by the Venusaur, and BIHI has still not managed to get even a single layer of spikes down. And here's Mana with that crazy creativity that we were just discussing. How about a Cursed Jolteon? How often have you played against that? It does find itself T-waved, but clearly it wants to baton pass away. And there you go. The recipient is going to be Metagross. +2/+2 Metagross, gonna be a problem. Make that +3/+2 as it insta-gets a Mash Raise. Only response from BIHI is a Hydro Pump, which does not even connect. Double Edge ends the day for Swampert, and there might be an issue here for BIHI. He better wake up fast, and he does not. So now he needs to dodge Meteor Mash. Gonna go to his own meta, fine and well, or not, or get crit immediately. Now he's gonna have to dodge Mash. Maybe he can live one, and he does at 1%, and he wakes. Sure, I mean, Crisis averted, I guess, but damage very much done there. In a lot of scenarios, the meta would simply sweep, so I guess BIHI counts his kind of sort of blessings and goes, okay, I'm alive, but barely. 3 pokes left against 5, unrevealed for both. And the Sleep Powder has been money. That 75% accuracy has basically been 100. Putting that Skarm to sleep over and over and over. Who needs a Rapid Spinner when you can just never miss Sleep Powder? BIHI has not managed to get a single layer down, and that is not the last poke I would have expected for him. Raikou in the back, but it only makes a brief cameo as we end up with Bliss on meta. 1 Curse Boost has been passed. That's a 75% mash and an attack raise, but counter surprise move is going to get him there. Rock Slide, good unless it misses, which it didn't. And now it is only Raikou, the right kind of Raikou, HP Ice, which is what he needs, and the Sleeping Skarm against the 3 from Mana. Leech Seed going to connect. It is a non-sub Raikou, it seems, tragically. And obviously HP Ice is not going to be the move against the Suicune, but it does have Thunderbolt. Has to be careful to not Thunderbolt into the Volt Absorb Mon, which he does not. He goes for Calm Mind instead. Not going to fall for that trap. Hidden Power with a crit. Alright, is this a BIHI comeback win? Kind of starting to look like it. Venusaur hoping to catch a T-Bolt, which even in that best case scenario isn't great. Still does 52, but he would live another one. Back to Suicune trying to catch Hidden Power. Successful again. If Mana can just outguessing game him for many, many turns, 7 or 8 turns in a row, then maybe there's a shot here, but the problem is Thunderbolt is damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's good enough to kill the Venusaur. So I believe this is actually going to be a BIHI comeback victory with the surprise Raikou here. There you go. Thunderbolt takes all suspense out of it. And BIHI actually takes game 1 here. That was wild and back and forth. And it felt like Ban Manaphy was ahead for most of that. And it certainly felt like between the perfect Sleep Powder accuracy, between that critical hit with the meta to instantly delete the other meta, between the immediate attack raises twice with Ban Manaphy's meta, it felt like Ban Manaphy got the better end of the hacks by far in that game. So that has got to be a confidence boost for BIHI. You played game 1, you just got pretty unlucky, your opponent just got pretty lucky, and you won anyway. If you're sitting in BIHI's seat, got to have a lot of confidence. Got to feel like you could beat this guy. Imagine a game with neutral luck. Imagine a game where you get the better luck. You just beat this guy when he got the luck. BIHI sitting pretty up a game here has got to taste it. Has got to be feeling like he can get that cash money and like he's right there. Like this is a match that he can win. And he'll have 2 opportunities to do it. here is game 2, and I will go ahead and switch those sides for continuity. It's an OCD thing for me. I don't know if this tournament cares about it or not, but I think it's better and easier to follow when you do that. You guys can let me know in the comments whether or not that's something you care about. Either way, here's game 2. BIHI's on the bottom again, and Mana is on the top, and we are switching it up. We've got a Glalie. BIHI apparently is not switching it up. He is not abandoning the beloved Raikou, who was so generous to him in the previous game. And yeah, I mean, here it's gonna negate the Glalie, I guess. Glalie didn't really do too much. It popped a sub and it got a spike down, but he's trying to set up a sweep with the assistance of Light Screen, which, by the way, not only wouldn't prevent Brick Break, but it gets broken by the Brick Break. People forget that part. It's just a generic, crappy fighting move in a format that doesn't have close combat or any of that kind of cool stuff yet. But yeah, Brick Break, remember, shatters screens, whether it is Light Screen or whether it is Reflect. It makes the screen go away. Screens are not very common in ADV, doesn't come up a lot, but you saw it there, so cool thing to point out. Either way, both Meta and Tar are down. We've got a pretty quick game with offense versus offense here, and we've got ourselves a 5-4 BIHI advantage, keeping in mind that he's already up a game, so it's going to be the match win for him if he manages to close this out. Physical Mence, Rock Slide into the Swampert, not going to have HP Grass, so out it goes. Final poke revealed for Mana, that's Gengar, which may or may not have HP Grass on this team structure. I would not be surprised at all if it has a grass move. Very much the kind of team that wants to remove things like Swampert, since he's got Physical Mence and Physical Tar. Giga Drain again, can't blame him. Doesn't do it against the Zapdos, but he should be able to outspeed and just click Ice Punch here and still be fine. Sure, Boom will suffice. Zapdos going to go down. Leaves us in a 4-3 with BIHI still up him on, but Metagross with the advantage here against Tar. EQ and Mash, both of which are going to connect, and the Mash is going to do a lot more. We've got ourselves a tie ball game as the last poke, previously unrevealed Mence, makes an appearance for BIHI. We end up Mence on Mence. That is risky business. Both Dragon Dance and Dragon Claw would not be what Mana wants to see here. Intimidate negates the attack part of Dragon Dance, but not the speed part, and there's a second dance to leave him at +1/+2. BIHI trying to close this out with his Mence. Intimidate number 2, and it's an Earthquake, so Mana crawls back in a little bit. The meta on the other side is not going to be able to survive from 61%, though it does come in on Rock Slide. Maybe it can live Earthquake. Yeah, it does, and that's because of the Intimidates there. So Mana doing what he can to cling on to this game, but I do emphasize that he is clinging. An Earthquake there is a whiff, so a couple of incorrect Mence predictions by BIHI is going to give Mana a little bit of a window back into this game, but he's still dancing around the opposing Mence. Rock Slide there, obviously aimed at his counterpart. Not exciting against Meta, just going to negate lefties. And BIHI pulls it back. Gets an Agility now. That's going to allow a free kill, presumably, on the Pert if he lets it stay, which he does not. Mence comes in thinking it'll be Earthquake. He's right. Fair enough. Comes in. But that doesn't really change anything here because the meta's still faster. It does, I guess, give him a chance to dodge Meteor Mash, but he does not. And BIHI is actually going to forfeit, and it is not premature in this case. Remember, with Agility, he would outspeed the Raikou here. Click Earthquake, down. And then Swampert at 17%, obviously, comes in on the spike and is not going to survive an Earthquake either. So the Agila meta here is going to get Mana where he wants to be. And we could go back turn by turn. That game went a little quick. We'd have to kind of slow it down, but feels like that was a winnable game for BIHI. It feels like there were a couple missed opportunities, whether it was making different predictions with his Salamence when he had the opposing Mence on the other side, maybe on a couple of those turns instead of EQing into the opposing Mence. If he had just clicked Dragon Dance again, maybe it's different. And same thing, remember, he didn't actually have to allow this Agility to happen at all. Now, good for Mana, obviously, for taking advantage of that. It obviously paid him dividends and ended up being very relevant in the end game here. But you've got to question whether that Agility had to happen because BIHI switched out rather than simply went for the lethal attack against the meta. And if he didn't do that, the Agility couldn't happen. And who knows? It's obviously easy, hindsight 2020, to second guess things. Much tougher in the moment. My point simply being not criticizing BIHI, who I think is a great player. My point simply being that I think this was a winnable game if one or two decisions were made differently. So, with that, we go to the rubber match. Only one of them, and this is upper bracket still, so the loser is not eliminated and can still not only make money, but outright win the tournament, potentially. But obviously, you want to be in the upper bracket at this stage. We're getting very, very deep, and you have a fantastic shot to make money if you achieve victory here. So, BIHI and Mana, Game 3, winner in the upper bracket and looking pretty. Loser in the losers, sorry, lower bracket. Here we go. One more time, BIHI's on the bottom. Lead arrow. Something that I have seen him use multiple times. Not something most people use, but it's kind of a BIHI special. And then, yeah, Mana going for comfort as well. He is one of the biggest Metacham advocates in ADV. I fully support that position and think that Mon needs more love. And he's got a little BP chain going on. And the Rock Slide will not pop against the Metacham with the resistance. Focus Punch incoming. And Protect lets him know the bad news. That's fine, but something's got to come in. And Gengar comes into Brick Break. Sure. But problem not solved. Metacham could easily have Shadow Ball or Rock Slide or whatever here. Switches it up predicting the Skarmory and goes for Focus Punch. This apparently is very difficult for BIHI. Protect and Brick Break. I mean, Metacham, as we see, does not have lefties, so he's trying to sand stall him out desperately. But man, that thing hits like a truck in the meantime. And Skarmory is down after getting just one layer of spikes down. Rock Slide there fails to kill, so it gives BIHI a little breathing room, but make no mistake, Mana clearly in the driver's seat at this moment. And he pulls it back. I think a lot of players not as good as these guys would have just pushed that and milked that to the end. But one of the good things with these guys, the discretion of the good players, is knowing when to call it quits and pull it back. I think he can get value out of the Metacham later. In this case, he's just going to use it as fodder. Fair enough. And in comes the Aerodactyl, or sorry, the Zapdos into the Aerodactyl that is locked presumably on HP flying. Agility, huh? That would make me scared. Agility pass to Machamp, Marowak, all sorts of terrifying things in the back. In this case, it limits his options because he knows that Focus Punch is coming. So Meta comes in, takes it neutrally, still takes a lot, but he's going to be faster, of course, with the agility. Meteor Mash going to KO the Tar, and we find ourselves in a 4-5 with Mana in the lead. And there's a spike beneath Mana's team of note. And he seemingly has not opted for a Rapid Spinner yet again. Who needs spinners when you just have really, really aggressive teams? I don't hate the mindset. Like I said, I respect Mana quite a bit as a builder. That being said, one thing that will not be part of his builder in this game anymore is the Metagross as Thunderbolt takes it out. We've got ourselves a 4-4 with an unrevealed in the back for Mana. Surf there just short, but the sand will get him done. And it is a 4-3 now. Thunderbolt fired at Suicune. Surf coming back. Ooh. Damage roll trolley situation here. Coon could live at 1, surf him back, and then kill him with the sand. So like I said, kind of a roll there, but Thunderbolt does take him out crucially. And there's Boom, which also doesn't kill, but again, the beauty of sand finishes the job. So we've got ourselves, and it is the Marowak that I anticipated in the back, a 2-2. Swords Dance there was hoping for a switch that did not come. And Mana gonna be kicking himself, I think. Had he just attacked there, he would have killed the Aerodactyl, but now he's only got the Celebi. Swampert comes in, gets Giga'd. And that's going to put BIHI in a position where he must find, with a one-turn window, he must find a critical hit with HP flying here, or a chain of Rock Slide flinches, or he will be eliminated. And he gets the crit. Well, easy game, easy life. I suppose that could have actually been HP bug. I don't recall I think it was HP Flying, if I remember. I think it was locked on that from earlier, firing that into the Medicham. So I think that was HP Flying. And if that is the case, if it was in fact HP Flying rather than HP Bug, then that was quite relevant at the end there. That was quite lucky. Now, the Celebi is not the world's bulkiest, seemingly. It looks like it was like at least somewhat leaning towards the offensive side of life, but nevertheless, even though it wouldn't take it very well, it would, the overwhelming majority of the time, depending on the EVs, possibly even always, survive the non-critical hit HP Flying there. So it is pretty unfortunate that this is going to come down to a critical hit in which he only has a one-turn window to find it, but he does indeed find it, and RNG and luck and all that good stuff is part of Pokemon, and BIHI is going to get it when he needs it. So what that means is that BIHI is going to be in the round 7 upper bracket, a wonderful place to be, just one match victory away from guaranteed money. Our buddy Ban Manaphy, the man, I respect him. He is going to be in the lower bracket, very much still in the hunt for the historic 3rd money finish in this tournament. He would be only the 2nd player to ever do that. The other obviously being the late great, the Linear Curve, who almost won the damn tournament 3 times. Alright guys, I appreciate it. Like I said, go ahead and hit that like button. Consider subscribing to ADV Revival, or in this case, Revival Tournaments rather. I've also got a YouTube channel, youtube.com/calisnarrates, link in the description. And I think they're going to have me back for another match or 2. But my time here is coming to an end, so I hope you've been enjoying it. I've been trying to make it entertaining for you. Appreciate you watching. I will see you in the next video.